early in the week, there was a bunch of reportings that he had passed. I've heard that he had COVID.
Everybody trying to be first, man. That's what I don't like. Like, we know he was in ICU on life support every day. Oh, he passed. Oh, his organs are failing and da. It's like, yo, chill out.
What do you
like?
What do you gain from that?
Yeah, like try to be the first to say something about it. It's like, I don't understand that. That shit is whack.
That's literally all it is.
That shit is whack.
Because as soon as you see it reported that he's dead, nobody tells somebody else, and they were like, as reported by Complex.
Right.
Like nobody says who told them.
Right.
It was just like, yo, X died. Yo, X died.
Yeah.
So there's no benefit to being in a rush to try to be the first person to announce the bad.
People do everything for likes though now, but like motherfuckers will really sell their soul for 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
On Instagram, or like, you know, like I said, go against their morals and all that shit just for that. So
just to get some attention.
Right. It's super sad.
But as bad as that was, to be completely honest with you, I do feel like it's somewhat made it less of a shocking news on Friday.
Right.
Like when I found out, I was already of the mindset that if he turns out to be okay, I'll be surprisingly happy.
Right.
But I'm kind of assuming that we're looking at the last few days.
Not like it's necessarily like a tragedy. Like you wake up and see Kobe died.
Right.
What
just a shock.
Right.
Yeah, like a complete
once
shock.
they said he was brain dead and organ failure and all that shit, you know what time it is. You know, it's just you kind of just preparing yourself at that point for something that's like inevitable.
Shit, for real. I was still hoping he'll come out of it. Yeah. For some reason, I was just thinking like, nah, X gonna fight through this shit. Like, nah, he ain't gonna go out like that. I was still hoping, but you know.
I think
you gotta.
I knew like he was gonna pass eventually. Like it was just one of them things where
everybody passes eventually.
But I mean, sooner than expected. You know, but I think when it actually happened, though, I was really like, damn, like it really did take me back. Like it took me a second to I had to take a breather for a second. Like, oh shit, he really is gone. You know, even though you don't even know these people personally, but it almost feels like.
You got a connection.
They coached you through life, you know what I'm saying, or you learned something from them. You took something from them, and it's like at the same time, like you were a part of my life. You know what I'm saying? Because
definitely.
I listened to you so much, or at some points I wanted to be like you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't know. You know, it was like a very sad moment. I had to take a couple minutes just to myself.
Took a lot from X, man. He was like, I knew about hip hop and I heard it because my dad had a lot of shit that he played when I was little. But I think I said it before, X was the first album that I actually had that was mine. My mom's got it for me, which is kind of wild to buy your 11-year-old the Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood album. She got me the edited version, but she got it because she was as big as a fan of DMX as I was at the time. Yeah. So she got me that shit. That shit was hard. Know that shit word for word. Reason I wear dog tags. I broke out my dog chain today.
The chain on.
Like, X is that guy. He was that guy. All the way. Probably most selfless rapper you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever.
I'm so mad because in the middle of your story, I just realized that I've been sitting the whole week planning to only have the 2 X covers up here and clear the rest of the wall. And I forgot to.
You know you
we're already in
so we can stop it and put them up.
We'll put them up.
When we hit our 30-minute break, we'll pop them up. But yeah, kind of same thing. Well, so I mean, I grew up around music even when I was young. My parents always had music on and stuff, but obviously they were putting me on to all the white classics. So I wasn't getting the hip hop vibe from my parents. So when we had the foster kids come in live with us when I was like 8 or 9 years old, is when I got introduced to hip hop. And at the time, Rough Riders Anthem was the joint everywhere. Right. It was perfect timing that I got introduced at the same time, pretty much that X popped off. So that was my very first introduction and easily became my first favorite rapper just from the music and stuff. And then as I got older, like you were saying, like the most just genuine, selfless dude, I ended up connecting to X more, the person, as I got older, because I just love the way that, everybody in general, like in the world, kind of tries to present their best selves.
Yeah.
In the hip hop industry, I don't even want to say hip hop, in the entertainment industry, you are always trying to show how cool, tough, important,
facts,
rich, whatever the thing is, you're always trying to show why you're the best.
That great perception all the time.
Yeah, and X just was the opposite. Yeah. He was exactly 100% authentic himself at all times. And it made him look crazy, Obviously, the drug addiction throughout his life made him look nuts. When you hear somebody, getting in trouble constantly and saying the crazy things that he would say on records, and then coming to the studio and praying with Charlemagne and them, like that also looks crazy. And I think there's a lot of stuff that people now that he's passed are showing respect for that at times I don't think he was looked at so fondly later in his career.
That's something they do to. I feel like that's something they do to all like the genuine celebrities that show their real self all the time. They end up calling them crazy at one point.
Yeah,
at some point they end up being crazy. Are you crazy? You tripping? Why is he doing that? Why is he saying that? It's like
people always,
when you're a genuine person and you wear your heart on your sleeve and you always give it up every time somebody see you, you're gonna look crazy sometimes.
Yeah, because you're not expected to.
Yeah.
Because the expectation is we're all gonna show our best selves. What are you doing messing it up?
Right.
Like, what are you doing shaking the box?
Right. Yeah. And people they want to dismiss it and call it crazy when they don't understand it instead of actually trying to understand it. But to me, like, of course I grew up on DMX or whatever, but it took me a while to like get like the full appreciation of DMX and what he meant to hip hop. I think I was probably like really maybe 16 or 17 when I really started listening to his like lyrics, and I'm like, oh, this dude is one of the greatest rappers, you know what I'm saying? Like spitters of all time. Yeah. Like just listening to his wordplay, his aggression. Like nobody was coming at the microphone like DMX was coming at the microphone.
You felt every single word he said.
Right. Everything he said, you're gonna feel it.
Nobody's sense.
Right, right.
Like, he is a unique one of one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's why I developed the question that I want to ask you guys, like, who in the game today reminds you the most of DMX? Because really, I'm looking across the board and I'm just like, nobody. I got everybody else. Like, I'm big on that shit. Like coming up with comparisons. Like, oh, this dude, he reminds me of such and such, or he gonna be the next such and such. But I can't find anybody that I used to say Tekashi was kind of like DMX because the aggression in his voice that he rapped with. Yeah. I hadn't heard anybody like that since DMX.
That aspect that had it.
But of course, Tekashi
nothing else.
Nothing else is relatable to that situation. He's just not DMX. Was the realest person that you could be, and Tekashi, of course, is the fakest.
Right.
But
I know what you mean.
I mean, I was just puzzled. I was just wondering if you guys had any comparisons or anybody.
There is no. I mean, when he first came out, they was trying to compare him to Pop because, of course, he had the bald head. He was a rugged.
It's a thug life type mentality.
The passion.
But then
that went away real quick once you see who DMX was. It was like, nah, this is his own guy.
Yeah.
You can't compare him to Pac. He's just his own player, own rapper.
He kind of, you can tell he kind of Pac-like in some senses, because that's what I got from him.
I think so.
It's certain, when I was listening to him at that time,
But don't you think that's mostly like just the passion?
Yeah. It's the passion. It's the mentality. I think more so than anything. It's just like I said, the fuck you, I am who I am type thing.
Well, and also the aspect of being like two people almost.
Right. Like you wear so many layers.
You could have the crazy thug life, yelling, screaming Pac, and then he's also gonna have the clip a couple minutes later where he's sitting down, like talking about something important.
Man of Christ.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have X doing his sitting down and like having a religious conversation right after he was talking about like robbing and fucking your family. It's like absolutely insane.
That's really like people who grew up in the street and shit. They really have to like wear so many different faces and shit. Yeah. Unfortunately, because
especially coming up in the entertainment business,
right, because you gotta deal with certain people who might not accept these things or where you come from or how you actually are. So now I gotta put a mask on, you know what I'm saying, to be this person. And not saying that he was wearing it, but you gotta be different people in certain situations. So I don't know where I was actually going with that, but that's just how
I'd probably say DMX was probably the one that was not being like that.
Yeah, I think he might be the only one.
Yeah, so that probably will rub people wrong coming up in the industry being that way. But when you don't at the top, like who gonna say something to you? He came in and was on the top, out the gate. So,
but that like duality is something that I found. There's a difference between there are some people that are like two-faced. And you're getting an intentional deception of who I am in different scenarios.
Right.
X and somebody like Pac had like more of like a duality in that they were authentic. They weren't worried about being considered like a hypocrite.
it's just
Because
layers.
there were things that contradicted.
But it was always passionate about it.
Right. There was stuff that contradicted between the way they talked or said something or behaved or whatever. But it was just that authenticity. It was just, I'm not perfect, and you're gonna get it. This is what it is.
Yeah.
You had mentioned favorite songs. Do y'all have a favorite song? Is there a clear favorite? You give 2 or 3 if you have to, because I had a hard time picking for sure.
Slipping is one of them for sure for me, and then the song, I can't think of the name for some reason right now, but the video is like one of the X's earliest songs. Is when he's flipping back and forth through the different personalities. I guess.
Damien.
Yeah, Damien. Yeah, it's
Damien
really how he
nuts,
is. You
bro.
know, those are my probably 2 favorite DMX songs, because that's the one that really put me on to DMX. Like, oh, this dude really has like a lyrical ability, you know, and that's something I didn't see when as a youth, you know, because I'm just listening to the hooks and jamming to the beats and shit. But really, that's when I really started to dissect DMX, is when I heard that, and I'm like, okay, this dude is real deal, you know, lyricist of his time. So yeah,
For sure. Probably thinking like 3 off the top right now. My niggas intro, the Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. The Dog, was it Dog for Life? I think that was on the first album. That's my shit. And How's It Going Down?
yeah, that's a great song too.
How's It Going Down is the one.
How's It Going
Every
Down
time that
is
come
so
on,
hard.
it just take me back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because I like the music so much, there was times that I overlooked like some of his actual ability.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I love
He
his
got
song.
a lot of hard B-sides.
The last 2 or 3 days, the last 2 days, I've been listening like crazy, and like the one that we had it on just before we started, where he's telling the story about like taking the youngin' under his wing, and dude turned his back on him.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's one of my favorites.
that's
yeah.
insane. Like the whole
Yeah.
thing is a crazy
Right.
story of him like saying, I took this youngin' under my wing, he messed up. I knew I shouldn't have let him slide, but I let him slide anyway. And then he
He's talking
fucked
about
me
his
again.
story. Yeah.
And it was, that's a crazy joint. But anyway, my favorite, What's My Name is my favorite, like, upbeat hype joint.
Yeah.
That one is
that's
easily
dope.
like, if we're trying to have a good time or get hype, that would be the one I would go with. But the more like introspective type stuff is more of my favorites. Let Me Fly would probably be my pick if I have to pick one.
Which one?
Let Me Fly.
Let Me Fly. I think I know that one.
That was off the first album too.
All right.
But you had said Slippin'. I don't know how you could not include. You
I
got to
love
include
that shit.
Slippin'
Yeah,
in
right,
any
right,
top
right. I love that
list.
shit
And
for
like,
sure.
Lord, Give Me a Sign. Any of the more introspective stuff was really my favorite ones.
Definitely.
Anything else X related?
Oh man.
I mean, he had some. I've recently. I think he had a quote. I think he was on Drink Champs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's this quote that's been circulating that he
I'm
said.
gonna use that as my quote today.
Really? About,
Got him.
trust people to be who they are, something like that. I forgot exactly what he
Always
said.
trust people to be themselves.
But he was saying like it
7
takes
times,
too
yeah.
much energy not to trust people.
Yeah.
So he was saying like, hey, trust a snake to bite you, trust a thief to steal from you, all of this stuff. He's like, but you know what I'm saying, just pretty much just, I guess, I don't know exactly what he was getting at. I guess because it's just a clip, so it's not the full conversation.
It's always
But-
trust everyone to be themselves, but
There you
trust in
go.
the fact you can see them well.
Right. Just know that, like, you see them, you know what I'm saying? Use your gut feeling. And, like, that's something, like, I guess as a teenager or whatever, I kind of went against a lot of the times. Like, you know, you
Being
feel that shit
naive.
like something ain't right.
Being
but,
naive, yeah.
You know, you being naive to it, and then it come back around, and you're like, man, I knew that shit.
Yeah.
But you got to just trust yourself. See what you see and believe it.
Take people for who they are.
Right, take people for who they are once they show you. So I mean, I think that's something that you should live by. And there's plenty of shit like that in DMX's music. If you listen to it, you
Quick
get
bar.
plenty of life lessons.
Yeah.
Throughout DMX's music. You know, one of those things. Or do as I say, not as I do, type thing. So yeah.
That's it.
Anything else for you?
No, I heard in that Drink Champs interview too, he had an album that was on the way. They had been talking about it for a few years, but he said he's gonna have Griselda on there and Pop Smoke on there.
Well, you know it's
Guys.
definitely coming out now.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's
We will
gotta come
definitely
out.
be
That's
getting
gotta
Is
come
there
out.
any truth? I think it's a rumor about Jay-Z buying his masters. I think that's just one of those
I don't
stupid
think
things
it was
that people.
true.
They say he bought him out of his deal.
Yeah.
About that, because he was trying to get out of Def Jam and he let him go and bought him out of his deal.
No, this was something that like somebody clipped or photoshopped a headline that said like Jay-Z and Beyonce bought something for 15 million, bought his masters or something for 15 million, like within the last day or two, and they're giving $1 million to each of his kids.
Stupid shit.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I mean, it ain't stupid, but stuff.
Right. I think just the internet made up.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
The last thing I had is every time I listen to the first album, tons of bangers on there, of course, but when that prayer skit comes on, that joint, for whatever reason, has like spoke to my soul my whole life. I've always just been enamored with the poetry in that and what he's talking about. In the last line, he says something to the effect of, I always think I mess up the words, but he said, if it takes for me to struggle for my brother to see the light, give me pain till I die, but please, Lord, treat him right. And that just is like the hardest bar I've ever heard in my life. And it kind of embodies X to where like he took that pain and struggle that he had and never seemed like he was like trying to ask for it to be taken away or like wish he had it easier. It was always like, this is my pain and I'm going to tough it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that bar just speaks to me as like him saying, yo, if I got to struggle my whole life for other people to see my struggle and be changed from it, bring it on. That's just some gangster shit, man.
Yeah.
Super gangster.
Definitely.
I believe he passed at peace, though. I think he was,
I do too.
Nothing left for DMX, you know what I'm saying, type thing, I think he did everything that he wanted to do. I think he had a good life, so.
Glad he got that verses off, too.
Yeah.
It's good to see him get those flowers.
Yeah, because once that came out, everybody was showing love.
Yeah.
Everybody.